Welcome to the Praxis Core Writing Subtest, the Argumentative Essay. This presentation is designed to introduce Middlesex's education students to the elements of the Praxis Core Writing Argumentative Essay. This slideshow will cover the features of an organized essay, including the introduction, the thesis, body paragraphs, topic sentences, counter-arguments, and the conclusion. This slideshow also features top 10 tips to help you aim for success on this portion of the writing subtest. The argumentative essay is examining your ability to write effectively in a very limited period of time. In fact, students are only offered 30 minutes to complete this entire essay from start to finish. The argumentative essay is asking students to draw upon personal experience, observations, and reading to support a position with very specific reasons and examples. One of my key ideas that I teach my students is keep it simple, students, when we're working on lesson planning. This is something we're going to revisit. Keeping your essay simple is one of the key components for success. The argumentative essay asks you, in just 30 minutes, to read the prompt and decide a stance. You then support your claim using logical reasoning examples. You write multiple paragraphs, you have clear transitions from one idea to the next, and you complete your essay in just 30 minutes. Hopefully, you also save some time for edits at the end. The best argumentative essays will earn a score of a 6. Instead of receiving a score based on the number of questions you answered correctly, your essay is scored holistically on a scale of 0 to 6. A score of 6 indicates a high degree of competence in response to the assignment. If we take a look here, the 6 will say that you have a high degree of competence, meaning that you have very, very few errors and that you have written in the manner of a college student. A score of 4 or 5 will also demonstrate competence to a much lesser degree. A score of 3 or lower may show some competence, but will definitely demonstrate that you have some organizational flaws, poor mechanics, or other significant errors. Your essay will be graded by one human grader and one computer grading program. If your graders' scores are a little bit different by more than 1 point, a third reader will be brought in to decide where your mark should fall. The third reader will also always be a human reader. I'm going to ask you to pause this really quickly and to process this prompt after I read it. This is an example of what ETS might provide you on test day. The current school calendar followed by most American schools is failing America's students. The American education system continues to operate on a 10-month schedule despite the fact America is falling behind the academic achievements of other countries. America's schools should operate on a year-round schedule. You will see a statement very similar to this, and also the prompt will state, discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with this opinion. Support your views with specific reasons and examples from your own experience, observations, or reading. We will be referring to this throughout the rest of this presentation as I provide examples of how you might incorporate various writing techniques into this prompt. I have developed your top 10 hints for success on the argumentative essay. Now, granted, I cannot tell you that all of these hints are going to be perfect for you. However, so many students lose key points by missing small content that can really improve the ability for you to earn a 5 or 6 on this essay. So let's take a look. Tip 1, read the prompt and quickly identify the position you can best support. Now, Praxis essays are meant to be short. For each essay, again, you only have 30 minutes to read and digest the essay prompt, compose the essay, and proof it for errors and clarity. The test makers are looking for brief and clear essays. So the moment you see that prompt, determine what position you are going to take and move on. Tip 2, plan and organize. Although a formal outline isn't necessary, getting organized is essential. After you've read the directions and the prompt, restate that prompt in your own words. Be sure to understand what the prompt is asking for you to do. For the argumentative essay, always think about your viewpoint and take a mental inventory. What examples or experiences can you relate to this topic? Jot them down. In what order will you arrange these supporting details? Number them. Then reread the prompt. Are you supporting details and are they relevant? Make adjustments and rewrite your thesis if necessary. You should spend no more than 5 to 7 minutes on the task of organization. I like a paragraph approach for this essay. Paragraph 1 will contain the intro with a hook, some background knowledge from the prompt, and a clearly stated thesis. Paragraph 2, with your entire body, will aim for 3 solid arguments that will support your thesis, with supporting details and hopefully some real-life examples that you can put in. Paragraph 3 is going to be your opening statement, hopefully with some sort of personal connection. You'll restate your thesis, give a nod to the opposition, and end with a powerful concluding statement. I go into much of this much greater later on in the presentation. But if you need to remember anything, I think of the power of 3. 3 paragraphs and 3 solid reasons will hopefully help you aim for a 6 on this essay. Tip 3, establish a strong but simple thesis. The position you take should be stated very clearly. You don't want your readers, who are the Praxis core test scorers, to have any doubts about the position you're taking on the issue. For clarity, it's best to present your statement early on, ideally within the first paragraph. The longer someone has to read your essay before they understand your point of view, the less clear your thesis will be. The thesis is so important because, again, it tells your reader the main idea. It also keeps you on track. You can ask yourself, what am I trying to prove again? This is a high anxiety test, so you want to make sure that you don't go off track. Again, it's that claim that you're going to prove throughout your paper. And an example that I have created might sound something like this. In order to bolster the academic achievement of the average American student, schools across the country should be in session all year round. You cannot deviate from that thesis. You can see that I have responded to the prompt appropriately. I am taking a clear, solid decision about how I am going to respond, and I've even included a little bit of academic language where we have some higher level vocabulary and we have an introductory phrase. Tip 4, if you lie when defending your point, no one knows. Now, some of you might say, absolutely not. School should not be in session year-round. But I always ask my students to choose the viewpoint that you can defend the most thoroughly and with the most collegiate examples. So, for example, I don't necessarily think that school should be in session year-round, but I do know that there is some research that says students have a great deal of summer slump where they lose some of the information that they have retained throughout this season, or throughout the school year, I should say, and they come into school in September with lower reading levels and lower math scores than they had in June. I also know that many students in America's public schools don't always have an environment that's safe. So we can include the fact that this would help students have a safe environment all year round for America's children. And we can also bring in the fact that students very frequently are in a standards-based world. We're really focusing on reading, writing, math. Even history and science sometimes takes a back seat to the fact that reading and writing and, of course, mathematics is heavily tested. So we can talk about how additional time can be spent in the curriculum for arts and exploration. The reason I'm spending so much time on this is that no one knows if you don't believe in this. It's really just a matter of how much personal connections, reading, statistics, and insight can you integrate to really sell your point and argue that you know what you're talking about. Tip 5, hook that reader immediately. As a former middle school ELA teacher, I frequently taught about the hook when I was teaching my students how to write effectively. The hook can definitely be incorporated into the argumentative essay. You can start with a brief personal story, and again, you might not have an Uncle Ted, but if you want to refer to him, go for it. You can give an example, real or fictional. Summer school 2007 changed my life. You can ask a question. How would America's parents react? And then continue, of course, to support your idea. You can keep a few quotations and commit them to memory. One that I think would be somewhat relevant to multiple topics would be Benjamin Franklin's quote, who said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." You can think of a scary statistic. If you are pretty sure that your information's accurate, I happen to know that 1 in 6 American households are food insecure. So I might start with something like that, one of those scary statistics, to kind of open it up and then move into my topic stating if these kids are in school all year round, then we know that they will have minimally lunch provided every single day. And then finally, if all else fails, open with a strong declarative sentence. Tip 6, make the body the biggest and the boldest. You want to make sure that, yes, your introduction has to be clear, it has to be strong, but that body should be organized, really clear, logical, with logical and insightful connections amongst all of your points. You want to make sure you're providing support for all of your reasons, and essentially you're just going to be supporting all of those claims that you have made in that first paragraph. Many of my students ask for quantitative approaches to when I assign a paper. Well, how long does it have to be, professor? And I always tell my students, especially with the argumentative essay, if you are going to focus on quantity, the middle paragraph is where you are going to spend the vast majority of your time. Tip 7, revisit the thesis. This is so incredibly important. To get a top score, you must make sure that you're stating the supporting details for your thesis correctly. You're going to choose evidence that supports your argument and supports it completely. But after you've written your thesis and you developed it within that body, you might find out that an adjustment is in order. You might discover that your examples or experiences hasn't really evolved very well and that you could have done better. You may need to revise your thesis, or you might need to just make sure that you are staying on target or on track and ensuring that all of your details are supporting your claim. Tip 8, if time is running out, just conclude. Of course, you want to restate and reemphasize your thesis in that concluding paragraph. That is the key detail. But you want to make sure that you're not bringing in additional support into that conclusion. There are no more reasons necessary. If you've given 2 or 3 solid reasons in that body paragraph, please do not bring in additional information. However, I do have a tip, and that is tip 9. To show that you are a critical thinker and a college student who is 100% aware of the fact that there are multiple perspectives and viewpoints in the world, you want to give a nod to the opposition. This is the key to building a convincing argument, and it demonstrates your credibility and humility, shows that you're a critical thinker, and it demonstrates that you have the ability to truly show that you can provide a rational argument, but recognize that maybe there is another viewpoint. One example I've created might be something along the lines of this. I understand many individuals believe summers are sacred and must be preserved. However, so you're pretty much saying, yes, I understand the opposition, but still my argument is the best. Tip 10, edit with intention. Writing that is grammatical, concise, direct, and persuasive displays the superior control of language that earns that top score of 6. This involves using the same good grammar that is tested in the selected response questions. It also involves good word choice or diction and sentence structure. So if you have a few moments, you're going to want to incorporate all of those sophisticating writing practices in. Try to change some transitional phrases and put them in. Add introductory phrases. If you see vocabulary that's rather simple, you might want to enhance it with higher level vocabulary. And if you have any ability to combine sentences to make some serious, solid, compound, and complex sentences, maybe even ask a question here and there, go for it. Edit with intention. This is a really simple stop and jot brainstorm guide just to kind of revisit what we went through today in this presentation. You're going to have a straightforward and solid and simple thesis. You're going to have a paragraph 1 with a hook, background knowledge, and that thesis. Paragraph 2 will have 3 really great examples and truly just reasons that you feel that your point is the best, with great supporting details and hopefully some real life examples. Paragraph 3 will have that opening statement, restate the thesis, nod to the opposition, and a strong concluding sentence. Remember, practice makes perfect. What most of our students say is that the 30 minutes is what really bogs them down. Practice multiple mini mock writing sessions at home to gauge your personal pace. 30 minutes goes very quickly. I hope to see some of you at our Praxis Core mock writing sessions throughout the year. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck on the argumentative essay.